Okay, let us jump right into this explainer. We're going to be diving into the absolutely fascinating true story behind one of the most famous modern worship songs of our time, written by Matt Redman. But this is way more than just the history behind a catchy tune. His deeply personal journey actually reveals a pretty startling truth about consumerism, entertainment, and the culture that can so easily slip into the modern church. I mean, if you've ever found yourself evaluating a church service based on, say, the quality of the band or how cool the lighting was, well, Matt's story is going to challenge pretty much everything you thought you knew about what it actually means to engage on a Sunday morning.
So, picture this. Imagine walking into your church this Sunday, you grab your coffee, take your seat, and there's absolutely no music. I mean, the stage is completely bare, no acoustic guitars, no drum shields, no glowing amps, nothing. It sounds like a pretty radical, maybe even crazy move today, right? But that is exactly what one pastor actually did back in the late 1990s at Soul Survivor Church in Watford, England. Keep in mind, this was right when the modern worship revival was absolutely booming, and youth ministries were packing out stadiums with this incredible music. But behind the scenes, this particular congregation had secretly found itself stuck in a massive rut. So the leadership decided they had to do something totally drastic just to shake everyone awake.
See, Pastor Mike Pallavacci was looking out at his congregation week after week, and he realized they were dealing with this creeping, quiet apathy. They'd basically become entirely reliant on the worship band to do all the heavy lifting for them. They were acting like consumers of a highly produced experience rather than active participants in their own faith. So what did he do? He literally unplugged the sound system and pulled the band off the stage for an entire season. And at first, oh man, it was just agonizingly awkward silence. You know the kind, where people are just fidgeting, not knowing where to look or what to do with their hands. But eventually, that embarrassing silence gave way to something incredibly beautiful. These entirely organic a cappella songs and heartfelt raw prayers just started emerging directly from the seats. The people gained this completely fresh perspective, suddenly realizing, oh, wait, we need to be the producers of worship here, not just consumers.
And right in the middle of this, Pastor Pallavacci stood up before his newly quiet church and hit them with this incredibly profound, piercing question. He asked, when you come through the doors on a Sunday, what are you bringing as your offering to God? Wow, just a massive paradigm shift. That single question stopped the congregation dead in their tracks. They couldn't just sit back and wait to be entertained by a stage production anymore. They were forced to look inward, They had to encounter God in an authentic way, bringing their own voices, their own prayers, and their own hearts as the actual offering.
Now, this whole awkward but totally transformative season had a massive impact on one young guy in that church, Matt Redman. With the band he relied on totally stripped away, he went back to his bedroom and really just wrestled with his own heart. He realized he had to bring God something more than just a catchy melody or a perfectly executed chord progression. So he sat down and penned the lyrics, "When the music fades, all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth that will bless your heart." He was writing about bringing God something so deeply personal, realizing that a slick, well-produced song isn't actually what God requires. It was just this beautiful, entirely private response that eventually, with just a couple tweaks from his pastor, became this massive anthem sung by millions of people all over the world. And Matt's story brilliantly illustrates this core tension that theologian Dr. Ed Steele points out about our culture today. Because let's face it, our culture is absolutely obsessed with entertainment. We love activities that are designed entirely to give us pleasure or help us relax, where the whole measure of success is just our own personal enjoyment. But true biblical worship, it is the exact polar opposite. It's an obedient response to the revealed nature and character of God. The central focus is 100% on pleasing God, not ourselves. These two concepts, entertainment and worship, they honestly operate in completely different universes. Dr. Steele really hits the nail on the head here. He notes that if the central focus of worship is pleasing God, then our own personal likes and dislikes simply have to be laid aside. Just think about it for a second. How often do we walk out of a service and say something like, "Man, I just didn't get much out of worship today," or "I wasn't really feeling the song choices"? When we say stuff like that, we are treating the entire experience exactly like a concert or a movie. We're putting ourselves in the audience seat, expecting to be served, completely missing the fact that God is the true ultimate audience. Our obedient, selfless response is literally the only thing that matters.
To really wrap our heads around how dangerous this consumer mindset is when it slips into our faith, let's use a quick analogy. Imagine a father who travels a lot for work. He's going on these long business trips several times a year, and every single time he comes back home, he brings a special gift for his kids. Obviously, it's a super loving gesture, And naturally, it becomes something that kids really look forward to when they see him walk through the front door.
But over time, you really have to ask this critical question. Are the kids waiting at the door because they're genuinely excited to see their dad, or are they literally just waiting for the shiny new gift he's holding? It's a tough question, but it perfectly mirrors our spiritual lives. If we aren't careful, our worship can so subtly shift from waiting on the Father, desiring His presence above absolutely everything else, to merely seeking the gift of an emotional experience. We start chasing that cathartic high, those goosebumps during the bridge of a song, and we make that fleeting feeling the sole measure of whether or not we truly worship that day.
Jesus actually gives us the ultimate corrective for this in John chapter 4. He says that true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. So the heart and the mind have to be completely locked in together. Worshiping in spirit means, yes, absolutely, we should engage our hearts emotionally. But worshiping in truth, that means we also have to deeply engage our minds on the actual reality of who God is and what He's done throughout history. You can't truly worship in truth if you're just swaying to a catchy beat while secretly thinking about where you're going to grab lunch after the service, right?
So, what does this practically look like? Well, true worship definitely doesn't end when the music stops. It is a full-blown Monday through Saturday lifestyle. It happens in those quiet, unglamorous moments, reading the Word, praying by yourself, giving generously, or just sharing your testimony with a friend over coffee. It's joining with others to dive into Scripture. Basically, every single act of kindness, every step of obedience, even that quick whispered prayer during a stressful morning commute, all of these are fundamental expressions of a heart that is postured in continuous worship long after Sunday has ended.
And it actually goes even deeper than that. This lifestyle is a profoundly active, defensive posture. It is literally a purposeful way to engage in spiritual warfare and build a protective wall right around your heart. We live in a world filled with chaos, distraction, and a very real spiritual enemy. But worship forcefully shifts your focus. It yanks your eyes off your daily anxieties and locks them securely onto the unchanging one. You overcome the enemy by the word of your testimony, and your daily praise is exactly that testimony, spoken out loud for the whole world to hear.
This whole thing is a journey of continuous learning, and that was absolutely true even for Matt Redman. Years after the music faded back in Watford, he kept exploring these deep lessons, which eventually led to his 2004 album, Face Down. He started looking through the Bible and realized something huge. Whenever people faced the actual unbridled glory of God, they weren't standing around critiquing the acoustics or analyzing the tempo. No way. They were completely overcome, literally face down on the floor in absolute reverence, wonder, and mystery. He realized, all over again, that true worship is ultimately about encountering presence, not consuming a performance.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative question to reflect on for your own spiritual journey. When the music fades in your own life, when the band stops, the emotional high wears off, and every bit of production is stripped away, what are you bringing as your offering to God? Are you just waiting for the gift, or are you truly waiting for the Father? I highly encourage you to carry that thought with you this week. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep seeking the true heart of the matter.